mambo, mambo Italiano, hey, hey, mambo, mambo Italiano, go, go, go. You mixed up a Siciliano, all you Calabrese do the mambo like a crazy.
Happy St. Joseph's Day. I'm here once again in Our Lady of Lourdes, my own parish, and really to kind of use St. Joseph as our meditation today on the topic of love. St. Joseph becomes this kind of forgotten figure in the Bible. He certainly is a very, very important member of the Holy Family. He is this portrait of courage. He is someone who shows us what it's like to be the head of a family, especially in very, very difficult times. His leadership, his quiet and almost calm demeanor seem to carry us through the early part of the life of Christ. Imagine what St. Joseph felt when he is going to hear the news that his newly betrothed bride, Mary, is now pregnant with a child, and it is not his. So he's got to deal with, think about his family, his neighbors, especially his guy friends. Think about how he needs to kind of convey the news to all these people. He can certainly bring Mary to the authorities. Does he trust her? Does he now look at their relationship as something that is very, very questionable? I'm sure all of these things are racing through Joseph's mind. It's a very, very important part of this story to think about, what is going on with Joseph. We know Mary asks certain questions, but we do not really hear Joseph's side of the story. It is very, very important. Now, when we talk about love, we're talking about love as an act of the will. One of the things that we really want to contemplate is Joseph's act of love. Almost immediately, he has to make the decision that I am going to love this woman no matter what, that I'm going to love her even though she's given me this terrible news that she's going to give birth to a child. And it's going to really, really question his faith. Now, we find out that Joseph has dreams or visions, that he's going to find out what God's plan really is. And what we're going to do is that we're going to see that the man is going to step up in a way that is very, very unique, especially when it comes to ego, when it comes to vanity, when it comes to the decision to love. How are we going to act, especially in moments of difficulty in our relationships? Last night you read this article, Love is Not a Feeling, that love is an act of the will. Now we know what falling in love, this moment of highs when someone accepts us. They seem to accept even our imperfections. They accept all of these things that maybe they do not see. When we use the expression, love is blind, we're going to see that, well, that's what we mean. That people are able to overlook the things about us that are not great, our flaws. They're able to see those things. If we do not act, we do not love. And that's one of the things that we really have to understand. Falling in love is temporary. And what must happen is that as that fades, as that wanes, what we must do is we must fill the void with true, genuine love. And we talked about these 4 elements of love: care, respect, responsibility, and knowledge. How do we fill love with those things to come to know somebody, to understand the differences, to understand the importance of compromise, to look at someone else and to really grow on the journey that we spend with them? A true marriage must have love all the time. The person that we're going to be with will be someone that at many times we might not like, that we might be disappointed in, that we might be even frustrated with. All of these things are running through relationships, and how do we make that decision to love? Love chooses, right? We must choose to love in all circumstances. That's how love becomes this very, very, it becomes the cornerstone of human living. One of the things that you're going to see, and people always assume that the emotional part of love, that's what brings us into relationships. We meet somebody, maybe someone introduces us to someone, or we go to a party and we end up encountering someone. We start a relationship with someone, And what happens in that moment is that it is one body calling to another. In the Ann Landers article, she says it's gland to gland. It is really this article, we talk about it being a sex-linked erotic experience. It becomes about the body. It becomes about attraction. There is nothing else that occurs. There is not the decision to love until you make that decision. Right? At that point, that when you treat someone, right, John Paul II in the Theology of the Body is going to talk extensively about the utilitarian nature of human beings. We use people for our own gain. We use people for our own desires. We use people for what we want. And the thing that we want to really contemplate as we move forward, and you look at an article like this, is that, to say, I would like to love somebody. Well, that doesn't mean that you're actually going to love them, that you're not going, you need to take it to the next level. I think the article uses the example of, I'd like to go swimming. Well, until you make the commitment to do so, maybe you will not jump into the water. And that's a great analogy when it comes to the importance of love, to look at our relationships. Think about St. Joseph. He's faced with this very, very important decision. What do I do with this relationship? It's probably an arranged relationship. People have suggested that he marry this girl, that everything has been signed, everything has been taken care of. Maybe even there's been some trade, in the marriage vows. Sometimes land or even animals would be traded, as part of the covenant agreement. What do I do with this woman, this young girl that has given me this news? God can change everything. God can bring us to love. And even in the most difficult moments, it will be, how do I bring myself to love? How do I bring myself to make the commitment to other people? Love is so difficult because it requires moving out of our own selfish way to become people who have made a real decision, an act of the will. That's what we want you to understand. Things do not happen when we say, I'd really like to do this. But very often we kind of give up on the mission because, selfishness jumps in and we end up thinking about, maybe I'm too tired. I don't have the time. I'm too busy. And what ends up happening is that we kind of push other people to the side. One of the things that we want you to contemplate, especially on this Feast of St. Joseph, is to think about your own family. The Holy Family serves as a perfect example of love, even in moments of crisis. Remember, they had to leave Bethlehem because they were fearful of what Herod would do to all the young children, and he kills all of them. They must run away. They must go to Egypt, and that will be a place where they will certainly find shelter and they will find at least some safety. But it doesn't come without cost, and St. Joseph is there. His decision to love should serve as a great example for all of us to think about, where am I in my relationships? Am I truly loving others as I should? Am I simply basing my actions on what I want or about what other people need? Very happy St. Joseph's Day to you and to your family, and make the decision to love. Have a great day.